Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In today's review, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Generation Toy GT10W Gorilla. If you are in the market for picking this figure up, it is available and in stock right now over at Heat Toy, and for that I will leave a link down in the description box below to a direct listing to, of course, the GT10W, as well as a direct link to Heat Toy's front page. This is the second release of this figure, this time done in a completely brand new colour scheme, harkening back to what we got with some of the Ultra Magnus repaints, and I've got to say that in person this looks absolutely fantastic. So you can see here for the front of the packaging we've got a really awesome image of what is of course Optimus Primal there in his gorilla mode, as well as some product shots of him both in his robot mode. There's nothing else on the rest of the packaging. It is very bland on the sides as well as the back, so without further ado, let's crack this open and see what awaits us inside. And so here we have the Generation Toy White Gorilla fully opened up and out of his packaging, and of course as he comes packaged here in his gorilla mode. And I am a huge fan with what Generation Toy have done with the design of Optimus Primal. They've clearly taken inspiration from that original Transformers Beast Wars series, however to put their own stylistic approach on it, which in my opinion I actually do prefer. This looks as if though it's almost a protoform version of Optimus Primal or a Cybertronian version. It's definitely not as sleek and as realistic as the original Transformers Beast Wars Optimus Primal design set out to be. You can see that we've got some very sharp edges, really alien in their design, and I just absolutely love this. This looks more like a mech version of Optimus Primal than the design that we got in the Beast Wars series. You can see some phenomenal silver highlights scattered throughout this figure, as well as some blue highlights here on the sides of the calves, as well as here on the sides of the arms, and I love the placement of chrome. As we turn around to the back end of the figure, I think that the proportions here for the gorilla mode are amazing. It's phenomenal that you can actually get him into this very gorilla-esque type position, and then the top section here has also got some phenomenal details. This does become the back section of the gorilla mode, so it's amazing to see that when we do indeed get this transformed, that it's going to be equally as detailed in robot mode as it is here for gorilla mode. As we turn him around and take a look at some of the sharper details of the sculpt, you can see here for the head sculpt that the entire head has been completely cast in this chrome, and I think that looks absolutely fantastic. You can see he does have an articulated jaw which can be opened and closed and exposes some phenomenal detailing there, especially here for these top set of teeth. You can see that they've been painted in a really nice white, and then the base ones there are just chrome. I love how the red paint applications really contrast rather nicely with the white of the overall figure, as well as the chrome there for the head. You've got some nice chrome sections here for where the ears would be, and just overall for a gorilla I think that it looks phenomenal. Articulation wise, we do have a hinge joint here for the neck, so that can look up and down. We do get a rotation joint here. It's slightly limited due to the chin section, although if you do conceal that you can get a slightly wider degree of motion, which is awesome. We do also get some ratchet joints here for the arms, so they can ratchet the full 360, as well as hinge out to the sides all the way, which is amazing. We do also get a hinge joint here at the elbow, so you can see that that goes to a fantastic degree, and with this range of articulation that just helps you to create a beating chest position. So if I just find where the hinge joint is here, you can see that we can indeed get this figure beating his chest, which I just think is absolutely phenomenal. I will post some images throughout this review for you to get a better look at some of the poses, but then as we just put the arms down, you can see that we get a rotation here where the elbow is, as well as a full 360 rotation there for the hand, and all of the fingers are articulated. However, I'll show that more once we get him fully transformed into robot mode. As we turn to the back of the legs, you can ratchet these forwards and backwards. You can also ratchet the knee joint. However, I like to keep it in this position, as in my opinion it just makes him look so much more imposing. And in terms of a gorilla mode, I think that this figure looks absolutely phenomenal. Before we get into transformation, I just wanted to show Optimus Primal here in a more upright position, so you can see that you can definitely achieve a variety of different poses, and due to the way that the articulation ranges for the feet in robot mode, you can use the ankle rock joint here for the gorilla mode, as well as forwards and backwards. So in terms of articulation, despite upon first glance it looking rather limited, you can definitely pull this figure off in a variety of different poses. Now I have slightly dimmed the lights on my setup, as of course this figure is white, and I want to try and showcase him off in as much detail as possibly can be, but just giving you a final 360 degree look before we turn to transformation. For gorilla mode, I think that this looks absolutely fantastic. So to begin with, I recommend just ratcheting these sections here. Just turn him around and you can see these sections here. You're just going to want to pull these sections out on both sides, come around here to the front, and then with this you'll just want to take this whole panel, fold this section out, and repeat the same process, and then just collapse those down and they will cover over those gaps. Come to these pieces here and just hinge these pieces out, and then elongate all of that, and then you can see two tabs here and here. That this one will slide into this slot, and then this one here will now slide into this slot as opposed to the slot that it was in when we had him into gorilla mode. So just align those up as best you can and snap that in, and then just repeat the same process there for this side. Come to the underside now and flip out the front toe whilst folding in the gorilla toes. And then with this side one here, you can hinge this in whatever way you so desire. I personally prefer to just keep it flush here, as I think that it looks slightly better once we have him transformed. Repeat the same process here for this side. So hinge those both out, and then just extend this, and then once again align the tabs and the slots up nice and appropriately, and then come to the feet, flip out the front toe, fold in the back toes, and then fold out this smaller toe here on the side. And now it's just a matter of aligning the ratchet joints up nice and securely, turning around to the back, making sure everything looks similar and flush. And that is the leg transformation. So now we'll turn to the upper torso. For the upper torso transformation, you're going to want to detach this section here, just swing this side out, come around to this section here, just attach all this, and you can see that we do have double joints there, and we'll just fold that section in, and then just repeat the same process here for the opposite side. So just fold that in. With this section, it has come undone. In gorilla mode, it does tab into this piece, so if this has come undone, you just want to fold this section down, and we can begin to worry about this piece later on during the transformation. But here, you're going to want to come to this whole chest section and just pull this out, and then this flap here will collapse down. With this, we can then hinge this all the way back, and then this will rotate around like so. With that now done, what we can do is we can then lift this section out the way, come to the back, and then just pull all of this out on this double hinge joint, fold out these cannons, do that on both sides, come to the head section, and you're actually going to want to separate it here at the top. So detach that, and then with this, lift this up, rotate this around, and then collapse this down. Then we'll take this piece and ensure that's pushed back, and we'll slide this all the way in, and now we'll connect this piece into there. With this here, you're just going to want to lift up and align that up nice and appropriately, and that will tab into place. And then here at the back, what we'll do is you'll take this butt flap, bring these sections out, and this is also on a double hinge joint, so you'll just lift this all the way up and compress it. Take the waist now, rotate this all the way around. With that now done, we can compress this down once more, and then just conceal all of this in nice and securely. Now with this section, you can see two slots here and here. These are designed to tab into these pieces. However, in my opinion, if you tab them into there, it looks as if though this juts out over the head slightly more than it does. So you can decide not to tab them in and actually compress it slightly further into the torso. However, as I'm going to be sticking with the way that the instructions showcase throughout this review, I will leave it in its official configuration. However, please do note that if you're not a fan of this, you can compress this slightly more into this section for torso. We're then going to want to take these guns here and just lift those up. They are on slider joints. Collapse those over the shoulders. Come now to the arms and hinge these pieces up, and then take these sections here, just open those, and this will slide all the way up, and this tab here will slide into this joint, and then this notch here will slide into this peg hole. So just align all that up, shoot this nice and securely into place, making sure everything's nice and aligned. And then of course repeat the same process here with the opposite side. So just straighten all of this out, hinge this up, snap that nice and securely into place. And I believe that is the full transformation for our Generation Toy White Gorilla. And here we have Optimus Primal fully transformed up into his amazing looking robot mode. And so now taking a look at the Generation Toy White Gorilla fully transformed up into his robot mode. Personally, I think that this figure is just as detailed in robot mode, if not more detailed than what we saw in the Gorilla mode. I think that once again, this is a really nice stylistic approach on Optimus Primal design. I think Generation Toy have done a great job in capturing the essence of Optimus Primal, whilst at the same time putting their own unique spin on this release. You can see that as we turn around to the back, all of the silver and blue highlights contrast so nicely with the really nice pearlescent white plastic that we've got. I do believe some of the areas of white are indeed painted as well, so in all, I just think that this looks like an exceptionally detailed figure. Taking a closer look at some of the details, you can see that the head sculpt has been sculpted so nicely, very stylistic in its approach, however, of course, reminiscent to the original Optimus Primal design. Similarly to the Gorilla mode, we also do do have a chrome faceplate, so you can see here I have opted to go with the more open mouth look as opposed to the mouth guarded look, which I'll show later on in the review once we cover accessories. We've got the red piercing eyes, which is actually a transparent clear piece of plastic, as this figure does have an LED function. Now I'm going to be rather honest and say that the LED function is more hassle than it's actually worth. You actually have to remove the entire back section of the face, completely splitting it in half, and then the button falls out. It's really fiddly and finicky, and for my copy I found that when I do actually get the batteries inserted in there, the eyes are incredibly dim. So in my opinion, I wouldn't really mess around too much with the electronic function if that's something that you're not so inclined to do. You can see that we do have chrome shoulder cannons, which we can also store away similarly to how we saw in Gorilla Mode, and the detailing on these is also really nice, and they have got some articulation, so they can hinge up and down as well. You can fold them backwards, or you can completely conceal them into this back section. Articulation for the head, we do get a swivel joint here at the neck, as well as a hinge joint allowing him to look up and down and up to an amazing degree. And we also have this almost seesaw joint, which allows us to give the figure a more expressive range of motion, which I think is absolutely fantastic. As we take a look there at the shoulders, really lovely silver highlights there, and you can see just how reflective the white paint is that they've used here for the shoulders. I think that all looks really nice. The articulation is as follows, so you can hinge these up and down. Here for the arms, we've also got some nice silver paint applications. The ratchet joints can rotate the full 360 as well as hinge out to the side, so that's an amazing range of motion. You can see there for the arms, similarly to Gorilla Mode, very nice sculpting and detailing and blue highlights. I think that's all come out so nicely, no paint bleeds whatsoever. And we also do have a ratchet joint here for the elbow, as well as a full 360 there for the bicep. In terms of the hands, you saw earlier on that all of them have been sculpted really nicely. These two here are conjoined, so they hinge out on one joint, whereas these ones are individually hinged. So you can see we have a hinge joint here, here, and then here, so we do get a great range of motion out of these two. It's unfortunate that these ones here are not completely articulated like the top two, but nonetheless I still think you're able to get a decent range of motion, and the same can be said here for the thumb, so that's also on its own individual ball joint, as well as a hinge joint here just where the tip of the thumb is. In terms of the waist, I think that the torso detailing is absolutely fantastic. I really love the blue highlights, the metallic blue paint applications, as well as this blue gem that we have here for the center of the chest. I think that all looks absolutely phenomenal. Something worth noting before we take a look at the articulation of the torso is that he does indeed have a butterfly joint there for the arm as well, just allowing for some more dynamic range of motion when posing this figure around. You can see the chrome there looks absolutely fantastic. Full 360 rotation here at the waist, as well as an ab crunch, which I was super surprised to see. And you can see the way that they've designed it, it looks very cohesive when you do actually bend that in. So that's awesome. Really lovely engineering there. Taking a look here at the thighs, very similar to what we saw in Gorilla Mode. You can see all of the paint apps have come out really nice and clean, and the range of motion is as follows, so we get a great degree of motion forwards as well as backwards on this ratchet joint. Ratchet joints here out to the sides, allowing him to do the splits. We do also get a rotation here, however the range of motion is slightly limited due to the design of this whole upper thigh section. We do have a double joint here, allowing for an amazing range of motion, however that's mainly due to the Gorilla Mode, and you can see similarly to the Gorilla Mode we have the blue paint apps there for the outer section of the calf, as well as here on the inner section, the piston detailing, which does actually function, which is so nice to see. It's nice to see a die-cast element here for the base of the foot, as when you're posing him around, you don't want to worry about balancing issues, so that's great. And you can see that we can pivot this forwards and backwards, as well as hinge this in and out as well. So in terms of articulation and detailing, I think here for the Generation Toy White Gorilla, it's really nicely done. Very quickly taking a look at accessories, as stated whilst taking a look at the head sculpt, we do also get an alternate mouthpiece, which is of course the mouth guard, and this, similarly to the mouth plate, has been done in this really lovely chrome. Unfortunately, I can't show you how you actually integrate it, as I'm not sure whether I've applied too much pressure when actually installing this, but I cannot remove this whatsoever, and I'm really afraid that if I apply too much force, I might actually crack this piece or cause some damage to the paintwork. So unfortunately, I can't get this piece out, but it does simply just remove, and then you just tab this piece in. I'm really quite concerned as to how that's gotten so stiff and stuck in there, so perhaps I'll have to open up the head and try to dislodge that later on, but that is something to be cautious of, is just don't apply too much pressure when swapping out the mouth plates. The other accessories that he comes with are these two swords, and similarly to the rest of the figure, these have been done in an amazing chrome, white plastic, as well as this blue translucent detailing. You can see just how reflective the chrome blades are, and I think that the handle too is also very vibrant in its design. I like that they've gone for a more metallic white as opposed to a more matte white. I think that it could have looked drastically different if they'd chosen a more matte colour scheme, but you can see very reflective in terms of the design and very barbaric as well in terms of detailing. This definitely looks as if though it can cause harm to its opponents in whatever way it's used. You can see here that we have some circular pegs which do just peg into these ports here on the inner sections of the hands. So you just want to align that section up, and you can see then just wrap the hands around. And there we have Optimus Primal wielding one of the swords, or we can actually store them on the back. So you can see here that we have these tabs that these slots here will just slide into. So we have a couple of different options for how we display him with the weapons. And we also get this connector piece. Now this is designed so that we can have a double blade, which I think is awesome. So just to quickly demonstrate that, you just want to slide out this chrome section and do that here for this side, and it does make these handle pieces here redundant, but you just want to align this up appropriately. I believe it goes this way, so just slide that section in and then slide this section in, and there you have this absolutely huge blade, and I think this looks awesome. And similarly to the smaller swords, you can of course just peg this into the white gorilla's hand. So just to demonstrate that, you just want to align this up nice and appropriately, tab that in there, and there we have him with this huge sword. And you can see that it's actually even taller than the figure, and when posed it looks incredibly menacing. So that's absolutely fantastic. That's about it for accessories. However, in my opinion, he comes with everything that I would want him to. You can see we've got the shoulder cannons there which are integrated into the sculpt, and then the rest of the accessories are handheld, as well as here an alternate mouth plate. So in terms of accessories, whilst it may not come with a wide magnitude of them, I think that it comes with more than enough. And so that was my review for the newly released Generation Toys White Gorilla. If you haven't guessed already from this review, I'm actually a huge fan with what G-Toys have done with this release. As stated before, they've taken the essence of the Optimus Primal design and given it their complete own spin, which in my opinion really does pay off rather nicely. You can see here in robot mode that it's definitely a stylistic design. However, it looks almost like a samurai. I love some of the clean panels, especially here for the sides of the arms, but then we've got this more blocky approach as we come down here to where the knee sections are, as well as to the shoulder pads, and I think that the chrome and the colour scheme just works so nicely. It definitely does give me Ultra Magnus vibes. However, of course, you can have this displayed just as a white version of Optimus Primal. The chrome looks amazing. It's very nicely done. It doesn't look cheap like how some other third-party company pieces do. I really do like the integration here of chrome for the base of the feet. It weighs the figure down considerably when we have him in either robot mode or gorilla mode. I love the look of the gorilla mode. The transformation is something completely different to anything I've experienced in the past from any other third-party company, in the sense that it's actually rather enjoyable. It isn't all that complex. It's definitely rather straightforward. The transformation for the legs is by far the more simplistic side of the transformation, with the torso getting slightly fiddly when it comes to the different panels. But in all, I think that it creates for a very fluent and fun transformation, and I have definitely found myself from transforming this figure back and forth from both robot mode to gorilla mode and vice versa multiple times. So in my opinion, this is definitely a must-have for those who collect Transformers Beast Wars inspired figures, and for those of you who are just the generalist collector who are perhaps looking into taking your first plummet into a Beast Wars inspired Optimus Primal design, I think that this is definitely a great figure to start off with. So with all that being said, if you are in the market for picking this figure up, he is available and in stock right now over at Heat Toy, and for that I will of course leave a link down in the description box below where you can add this figure to your collection today. I really do hope that you enjoyed my review. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section below, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.